Right now, millions of animals are locked inside cold, barren cages in laboratories across the country. They languish in pain, ache with loneliness, and long to be free. Instead, all they can do is sit and wait in fear of the next terrifying and painful procedure that will be performed on them, says an article published by People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Take a moment to think about a pet you've had. A dog, cat, hamster, reptile, or if you've never had a pet, think about any animal you've ever seen. Now imagine if those animals had tubes shoved up their noses, holes drilled in their skulls, were thrown around by abusive lab employees, or sprayed in the eyes with chemicals. According to People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, more than 100 million animals are poisoned, burned, crippled, or abused in U.S. laboratories each year. There is no argument that the results of these experiments have enabled the development of life-saving medicines or powered the innovation of scientific technology. But at what cost? The United States should eliminate animal testing because these animals often die during or after experimentation. It is impossible to predict for certain whether the results of animal testing will even be relevant to humans, and because animals are not capable of consenting to these tests. We should eradicate all animal testing because animals involved often die during or after these procedures. If the research alone does not kill these helpless animals, their lives are taken away from them by lab employees once they have served their experimental purpose and can no longer take up space in the facility. Living animals used as test subjects for medicine, drugs, cosmetics, vivisection, dissection, or even just scientific research are called laboratory animals. Laboratory animals are often bred just for the purpose of being tested on, so they never get to experience freedom and independence, only pain and suffering. Test subjects can go blind, experience seizures or paralysis, develop skin conditions, or be poisoned, all for the sake of human beauty. This is cosmetic testing. In cosmetic testing, pain relief is rarely provided, and the animals used are always killed at the end of each test. According to a 2014 article titled Cosmetic Tests That Use Animals, published by the Humane Society of the United States. Cosmetic testing involves the use of animals to test all makeup, shampoo, soap, perfume, etc., in order to determine if the product could be given to a human. One of the most common of these tests is the lethal dose, which includes forcing chemicals down an animal's throat to evaluate how much is necessary before death. Cosmetic testing is definitely the worst kind of any kind of scientific or medical research, because the animals being tested on are having their lives taken away from them just so humans can feel better about their face and body. Most often, animals subject to these tests are unable to move or express pain because they are restrained. But animals are also put through unnecessary pain because of careless human mistakes. According to an article published by the New England Anti-Vivisection Society, the lab personnel often lack the experience and training, and sometimes the sensitivity, needed to avoid unnecessary animal suffering. Unfortunately, not all researchers or lab employees possess adequate skills in order to be responsible for the lives of countless animals. This leads to the death of mice, chimpanzees, cats, dogs, ferrets, and many other laboratory animals used to test products. All of these tests are for human benefit, so human subjects do not have to suffer through the pain that animals go through daily. Additionally, animal testing should be outlawed because human subjects are not tested on first. This sounds weird, but animal testing leads to controversy over whether or not the results will be the same for humans. According to Mark Falenz's article, Animal Experimentation, published in 2005, because the relationship between an organism's higher functions and their underlying biology is very complex, it is impossible to predict with certain how an agent will affect humans based on experiments done with other species. How reliable is this information anyway? Scientific knowledge gained from animal experimentation has more often than not gone nowhere. There is no question that there are benefits of testing human products on animals, yet information acquired from these experiments can be completely useless and even harmful because monkeys, rats, and cats do not have the same molecular structure that humans do. For example, the arthritis drug Vioxx appeared to be safe at animal studies, but was withdrawn from the market in 2004 after causing over 60,000 deaths in the U.S. alone. In 2007, the FDA revealed that serious and fatal adverse drug events have more than doubled between 1998 and 2005. according to the New England Anti-Vivisection Society. The brutal fatality caused by drugs and cosmetics tested safely on animals but harmful to humans is not limited to Vioxx. There have been additional occurrences with Meridia, Mylotarg, Accutane, Permax, Rapalon, and the list goes on and on. Although not all drugs successfully tested on animals have failed human tests, the probability is too high to risk. Not only have drugs passed animal clinical trials and not among human test groups, but there are also many common drugs, such as aspirin, Tylenol, and NyQuil, that have failed animal testing but are quite successful for humans. According to an article published in the Los Angeles Times titled "Cancer Drugs Face Long Road from Mice to Men," written by Marlene Simons et al., the history of cancer research has been a history of curing cancer in the mouse, said Dr. Richard Klausner, director of the National Cancer Institute. We have cured mice of cancer for decades, and it simply doesn't work in humans. Like Dr. Klausner, other medical researchers have attempted to do the seemingly impossible, cure cancer. Not only have these recent attempts at a cancer-curing drug gotten the hopes of these suffering patients up, but have also had the potential to do damage, if released to the public. Clearly, these examples prove that animal testing is similar to the flip of a coin. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. Is animal testing really worth the gamble on human life? Finally, animal testing should be eliminated because animals are not able to give their consent to the humans experimenters torturing them on a daily basis. Is it right for us to give such a human quality-like rights to non-human species? According to Mark Valenz's article, some proponents make the argument that it is simply a misnomer to apply humankind's strongest moral categories, such as rights, to animals, which lack the capacities of rational self-awareness and moral autonomy that make human life so valuable. Many may argue that because animals are above and superior to humans, that gives them the right to do anything without a fight. Some of these animals are not even capable of fighting back because they are immobilized. According to the New England Anti-Vivisection Society, many animal experiments utilize restraining devices, designed to prevent an animal from moving. Some research projects call for immobilization of specific parts of an animal's body, while other protocols involve immobilization of an animal's entire body. Some lab employees may think that because an animal is not squirming or complaining vocally, they are not in pain. Of course, there is no way to ask animals for permission to conduct research upon them, but some people think that it is because animals are not smart enough to comprehend the importance of certain experiments. The earliest documentation of animal intelligence studies date back to the 1960s, during the time of the cognitive revolution in humans. Several studies have proven that animals demonstrate an ability to navigate long distances, master a task after only being shown a few times, and even learn a human language such as sign language. Many assumptions about animals are made by people who do not know any better, that they are below the human race in both a physical and mental state. With that said, there are definitely more humane ways of testing products that are easier to conduct and yield better results. One alternative is known as vitro testing. Vitro testing involves the duplication of human skin cells within a controlled environment. We are then able to conduct the same experiments on these skin cells that we can on animals. This process is not only more predictive and practical, but is also more simple to carry out. Many companies have not switched because this is the way product testing has gone on for nearly a century, and vitro testing is overall more expensive. Animal testing dates back all the way to the 1920s in the United States. With almost 100 years of improved technology, you would think laboratories and research facilities across the nation would be using alternatives to barbaric animal testing. Yet thousands of companies continue to abuse the lives of millions of animals nationwide. About a century of data gathered from testing products on living things have been a gateway to developing cures and becoming more knowledgeable about the structure of living beings. Yet all of this comes at a cost. Not only a huge financial cost, but a sacrifice to both animal and human lives. Well, not anymore. The United States and the world as a whole should eradicate animal testing because animals die from these experiments. The results can ultimately be useless to humans, and because animals cannot give their consent to these vicious tests.